Hello everyone, welcome back to the Anxiety Project channel. Today I'm talking about anxiety recovery and what that means. What that means to me as someone who's recovered from debilitating health anxiety, depersonalization, agoraphobia. This is a massive shift in one's psyche, the separation between the worldly parents towards the supranatural, heavenly, archetypal parents, and that's what the hero is. If you read Eric Neumann, who was a student of Jung, if you read Carl Jung, you'll understand that the hero is the one that breaks apart the Ouroboros into two separate entities, the worldly motherly figure and the worldly fatherly figure. And now, as the reborn, awakened self, because you have to become awakened to actually break apart the Ouroboros, which is the dragon that eats its own tail. That's around chaos, because anxiety sufferers are in chaos, they're in disorder. And if you look at the anxiety sufferer, they're running around unconscious, trying to consume things, maybe alcohol, drugs, food, trying to get reassurance. They're in this comfort, they're trying to seek comfort in the round chaos. But typically, like myself, who did all of these things, pornography included, sex, attention, I was yearning for truth. I was yearning for the answers, because you can't ignore the pain that you're currently, that's the most real thing. Because you know that more than anyone, that when you're in pain, when you're suffering, that's more real than anything else you can experience. And what the body does and what the mind does especially is it focuses on the symptoms, the sensations of the anxiety, because we're problem-solving creatures and we're trying to unravel and break out of the Ouroboros. We're trying to find answers. That's why we're obsessing over how we feel first thing in the morning when we put our head on the pillow and we try and get sleep. That is the anxiety sufferer. So the hero is the one that awakens, and this is step one in recovery, by the way. This is something I did where I said, well, my parents don't know anything more about my situation and my problems than me. And that's a horrifying experience. That's like when the hero in the story comes back home comes back into comfort, tries to find the fatherly figure, tries to find the protector, and all of a sudden the protector is not there. This is what happens to anxiety sufferers. The protector is no longer present, and so the individual goes, I have to look elsewhere. I have to look outside of my box of comfort. And this is what I did. I went online and I was determined to find some sort of truth. And then what's crazy is once you shift your aims and your perceptions towards something beyond what you already know, answers will actually come about. It's like the burning bush in the Exodus story. It's like something glimmers to you and it latches onto you because there's this thing that's pulling you towards the answers, towards truth, towards your potential, towards something better. And so that's what happened to me. I found a coach and a mentor online that described my symptoms, described my sensations exactly to the T, because he went through it the same thing: agoraphobia, depersonalization, all of this horrible confusion, feeling like you're going crazy, feeling detached, separated, and unique. And this is also something that the hero is the one that feels separated from culture, feels like they're unique, feels like they have something more to offer than the people that they're hanging around, that there's something deep, there's something there, that lessons that can be acquired. Because for me, I was a slave. I was a slave to culture and what culture expected of me. Culture expected me to be a unconscious, a robot, self-consuming blob that kept consuming so I could get sick and take pharmaceutical medications that would benefit pharmaceuticals. I could consume, I could buy things, try and make me feel whole, like in Fight Club, where he's trying to like build and construct and decorate his apartment but realizing that that's not fulfilling. Like, we're trying to fill our life with stuff, and we realize at the end of the day, we get excited for something material, but then all of a sudden the next week we're excited about something else, and that other thing becomes less relevant. And I noticed this within my life, that there was an excitement and then there was this decline, and excitement and decline, or reassurance and then decline, reassurance and then decline. But I noticed then, when I started to watch other mentors online that overcame anxiety, I started to learn, I started to absorb information. It started, like Peterson says, it puts you in formation towards something else in your life. And that there was this thing inside of me that said, oh, Brad, you could do more. There's so much you can do. You can help somebody. If you're suffering, and then if you can take these steps forward, then maybe you're bound for something greater. And so for me, I was always looking for something more. I was always trying to meet culture's expectations by getting a job at a certain age, or finishing school at a certain age, or trying to be what culture wants me to be, trying to get a house at a certain age. And the people on Instagram, the friends that you went to high school with, they're portraying their life in certain ways and going on vacations. And I was in this dark space, this box of not moving anywhere. I was hanging out with my friends. I was smoking marijuana. I was, hanging around a relationship that ex-partner that I was tangled in emotionally, that I wanted to break free from. And I was smoking marijuana. I was watching a lot of pornography. I felt like I had to detach myself from culture. That was the big first stage of my awakening, was to say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to take what culture is telling me so seriously anymore. And so I spent a lot of time, I remember that summer so vividly, because I was suffering so deeply, and I was spending a lot of time outside in the garage, just listening to my mentor talk about anxiety, talk about his experience. And I kept absorbing this information like a mad dog. And this was such an amazing time in my life, because I simplified my day. You know what? I told myself, I'm just going to listen to this stuff. I'm not going to worry about my job so much, because I have some stability right now that I can afford to separate myself and spend time in, even if I had a job, obviously I would continue to do that. And also the not having a job caused me a lot of anxiety, by the way, because I felt like I was not doing much in my life and I was not pursuing responsibility. So that also later played a role, which I then realized. And so I did have to go out and get a job and forfeit my ego to actually go back to a retail job I used to have in high school. Like, now that I was in my mid to later 20s, that I was battling this ego, oh man, I went to film school, I was working on film sets, and I have to go back into a retail job. And then that was this huge ego death I had to contend with. And all of this was this ego death. This was this awakening, the separation between of the Ouroboros, the round chaos, into this awakened state where I had to go on this hero adventure. I had to separate myself from culture. You have to go beyond the confines of your home, and you have to, obviously first admitting yourself that you are weak, that you're vulnerable, that you're insufficient, that you don't have the resources within you to contend with all of the chaos that you're dealing with. So you go beyond that, out into the unknown. And then in the unknown, you have to battle with yourself. Goggins says this. Peterson says this. You have to go to war with yourself. You have to compare yourself to the person you were yesterday every single day, and try and separate the self, and trying to figure out what a future self looks like and what the past self means to you. And why separate? And so, do you not like your past self? I certainly didn't. I was just thinking the opposite of what I would used to think. I was like, what would the old Brad do? I'm not going to do that, because I was in a deep, dark place in my life. I was not happy with the situations I was in the past. I was very weak mentally and physically, and I didn't stand up for myself for the longest time. I would always be a yes man. I would be too agreeable for my own good. I'd try and be overly compassionate to my ex-partners, to my friends, and I would get walked on continuously. So I had all of this weighing on me like a burden of existence. It's like I can't remember the god or the Greek image of the person holding the globe on his shoulders, but if that felt like me. It felt like I had this giant cross, leaning on me, that I had to grab and drag forward through the muck, through the damn woods, the darkest parts of the woods imaginable. So it started, like I'm telling you, it starts with just picking up a book, picking up or tuning into a YouTube channel of someone struggling with the same burdens you're contending with, and you just go from there. Day one, that's it. There are many times in my life where I had to start from square one, and when you start from square one once, you're more likely and more willing to go to square one again, because you're going to experience square one as you move forward in this process, because failure is inevitable. You're going to stumble into failure, but it's not necessarily failure. But I like how Goggins puts it. It's an attempt. You're aiming at something. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but we forget that we actually took 2 steps forward. Where was I before? Oh yeah, I was watching pornography. Today I wasn't. It's like I was watching it every single day, twice a day. And then now nothing? It's like that was a huge accomplishment. So what? I relapse. And yes, the guilt and shame, it's useful. Because it's a place where I don't want to be, because I saw the other side of the coin. I saw what it was like not having it, that I could actually have control over my faculties, my inner drives and my inner deities that are pulling me and dragging me towards the corners of my world that I don't want to be. I don't want to watch pornography at the whim of my thought, or this sudden rush of adrenaline and lust and desire. It's like, maybe I can tamper that down. Maybe if I can show myself that I could say no, then I might actually have control. And my clients, man, when they have one of those days where they tell themselves no and they don't do it, they come to me and they say, Brad, I said no, I didn't do it. And they see this other side, and there's no going back from there. Once you see a different side to your patterns of behavior, to your map of the world, there's no going back. So remember, to recap, square one is just admitting, hey, I don't like where I am in my life. I could do so much more. And I'm going to look outside of my comfort bubble, because maybe the information is out where I haven't looked yet. That's the King Arthur story. The knights search for the Holy Grail, what they most want to find, and they start in the part of the forest that is darkest to them. You have to look outside of your comfort zone. And then, hey, you'll find amazing people. You'll see a different side of yourself, and you'll start to garner and manifest a self-respect. You need that. I needed it, especially because I had none. Rise above anxiety. I'll see you next time. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this community. Please comment below. Also, give this a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, because then you'll be the first to know whenever I release a new video.